The Russians are coming to hijack Scottish politics. A US senator has warned that Russian cyber operatives are setting up shop in Scotland to foment support for a second independence referendum. Senator Angus King told a Washington hearing into Russian interference in last year's US presidential election that Scotland was also on the Kremlin's target list. He told the Senate Intelligence Committee, "We know the Russians were involved in the French election. We know that they were involved in the German elections. We are now learning they were involved in the separation of Spain. And my understanding is they've set up shop in Scotland, which is talking about an independence vote from Great Britain. This is a sophisticated worldwide strategy. It hasn't stopped and it won't stop." On Wednesday night, a senior MP demanded answers from Facebook on whether Russians were using the social network to cause discord in Scotland. Damian Collins, the chairman of the Digital, Culture, Media and Sport Committee, said he would press the company on the matter as part of the committee's investigation into the impact of fake news on British politics. A Facebook advert posted by Russian operatives in the US presidential election. He said, "We are interested in any political activity on Facebook in the UK which has been driven by Russian-backed organizations. We will certainly be asking Facebook about this as part of our inquiry into the power of fake news to disrupt our democracy." The warning from the US came as Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary, told MPs he had seen no evidence of Russian interference in British elections or referendums so far. He told the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, "I haven't seen any evidence of that." Told that he seemed uncertain after giving a slow response, he added, "No, I haven't seen it. Not a sausage, niet, niet, niet." Senator Angus King at a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing credited Reuters. Mr. Johnson was then pushed on whether he thought Russia had played any role, or sought to play a role, in the UK's democracy, and he replied, "I don't know about sought to play, but as far as I know they have played no role." Meanwhile, a leading Brexit donor, Aaron Banks, insisted the vote to leave the EU was not funded by the Russians after the UK elections watchdog said it was investigating whether he breached campaign finance rules in the referendum. The Electoral Commission said it was looking into whether Mr. Banks was the true source of 3 loans worth £6 million on non-commercial terms to the Leave EU campaign he chairs. Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary, gives evidence to the Foreign Affairs Select Committee credit PA. It is also investigating whether Better for the Country Limited BFTCL, a company that lists Mr. Banks as a director and has its registered office at the same address as Leave EU, was acting as an agent when it donated £2.3 million to 5 registered campaigners. Earlier this year there was a warning from Sir Andrew Wood, former British ambassador to Russia, that the Kremlin may seek to interfere in any second Scottish independence referendum. Sir Andrew said Russia would seek to break up the United Kingdom and presented a widespread set of risks for its democracy. In Washington, Mr. King spoke as U.S. senators on the Senate Intelligence Committee grilled executives from Facebook, Twitter and Google about what they were doing to prevent Russia influencing elections using their networks. Mr. King said the committee had interviewed 100 witnesses and gone through hundreds of thousands of pages of documents. Speaking ahead of the hearing, he said the Russians egregiously meddled in our democracy in 2016, they're still doing it, and they're going to do it again. And they're set up in Spain now and they're setting up in Scotland. They have discovered a way to turn the strengths of our country and the West against ourselves. I call it geopolitical jujitsu, where they're taking advantage of our free press and our open society and driving divisions. Another advert used in Russia's cyber campaign. Mr. King, an independent who votes with the Democratic Party in the Senate, added, "This is information warfare, it's just like armed warfare. All of what the Russians did last year has basically been a free pass." Facebook has admitted that content posted on its network by Russian operatives was seen by around 126 million Americans during last year's presidential election, and it has vowed to do better to stop it. Its executives blamed the Internet Research Agency, an online troll factory in St. Petersburg carrying out influence operations for the Russian government. It generated 80,000 posts on Facebook between January 2015 and August 2017, which were then widely shared. Senator Dianne Feinstein, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, told the Facebook, Twitter, and Google executives, "I don't think you get it. You have a huge problem on your hands and you bear the responsibility. You created these platforms and now they are being misused. You have to be the ones to do something about it or we will." At the hearing, Facebook admitted that another 20 million Americans were also exposed to Russian information on its picture-sharing service Instagram during the presidential election. Mr. King criticized Mr. Zuckerberg and his counterparts at Twitter and Google, after the companies sent their top lawyers to answer questions. He told the lawyers, "I'm disappointed that you're here. We would appreciate seeing the top people who are actually making the decisions.